3, 2, 1.
Right, this one caught quite a few people out as well. This is a garden bench. Now, the question says, give 2 properties of mild steel that make it suitable for the frame. Right, so let's look at that frame. Someone has decided to take this mild steel and they've bent it around. So what property allows it to be bent like this? The answer is malleable. It is easy to bend without it breaking. We can hit it around. A blacksmith needs things to be malleable because he starts it in one shape, he'll heat it up and bend it into a different shape. How is this fixed together? How does that stay there? Well, it is welded from there to there. So we say mild steel is excellent. Now, look, mild steel, guys, let's remind ourselves of this. It is the cheapest metal in the entire world. And it is the most used metal in the entire world because A, it's cheap, and B, it is very easy to work with. So easy to work with is something you can actually say. That means it's easy to cut because it's quite soft compared to high carbon steel, like your drill bits and your saws. So it's quite easy to cut, it's quite easy to drill into, it's quite easy to bend. It's very weldable. So you can weld it together. It loves being welded. It does our mild steel. And we can't just say strong, I'm afraid. That doesn't mean anything. We've got to say strong in compression, because when you sit down there, if you get 5 people on there who are heavier build, with people on their laps too, we don't want these to get compressed and to buckle. We need to be strong in compression. Might want to say it's tough in case someone jumps on it. It doesn't want it to shatter. That would be acceptable too. You cannot say durable. Mild steel by itself, do not forget, the most popular metal in the entire world, the cheapest metal in the entire world, but it rusts very, very, very quickly unless it's treated, unless it's finished, and we protect it from that naughty oxygen. So you cannot say durable because that's a huge disadvantage with mild steel. Give 2 reasons for applying a surface finish to the mild steel frame. Well, I've just explained it rots. So we've got to protect it from rusting, and more aesthetically pleasing would be another answer. Most of you got that, I'm very pleased to say. Watch the spelling. I don't think anybody spelt it correctly. A-E-S, aesthetic alley. Okay, aesthetically pleasing. Now, moving on. Give 3 finishes that could be applied to a mild steel frame. Well, the most likely in the real world for this would be galvanised. You take this mild steel frame and you pick it up and you dunk it in a bath of liquid zinc. That zinc would stick on in quite a thick amount, quite a thick skin, and it'd make it extremely durable. So your bench would last 20, 50 years in the park. So we want that to happen. So that is the most likely thing. You could probably paint it. The problem with painting is you've got to keep repainting it every year. That'd be really expensive. If it's a council, for example, it'd be a pain. If it's in your garden, you've got to paint it every year. But that is perfectly acceptable. But I don't think it's the best one. You'd probably find it's galvanised, then painted. Because galvanising, excellent, but not the prettiest look. Zinc plating. Well, yes, you would get a mark for that. Zinc plating, though, you don't zinc plate huge things, and it's only a very, very thin amount of zinc that ends up sticking on there. So it wouldn't last very long. If you use a zinc plated screw left out in the elements, that would rust over the course of 6 months or so. Moving on, you could say oil it or lacquer it, but that doesn't give very much protection at all. What you cannot say, let's go back, you cannot say, is wax or varnish. Waxing is for wood, varnishing is for wood. You cannot say polish either, I think. What you do, once you've got a varnished wooden product, you might go and polish it with your polish. But that's just to buff it back up again. It's already been varnished, it's been finished. Polishing just makes it look nice and shiny. They're the same with With metals, if they've been lacquered, you might go and polish it, but I don't think that's a finishing process. I may be wrong on that. I don't think I am, but I may be wrong. Let's just go the ones that we're definitely right on. So galvanizing, painting, zinc plating, oiling, lacquering, that's what you can do to mold steel to stop it rusting.
Genius.
Okay, so we're now getting towards the end of the test, and what you normally expect to see at the end of tests is some longer questions. So where you was seeing questions that just said give two properties, they are for 1 mark each. Now we're seeing things like explain or describe. So one sentence is not going to cut it, or one thing you say is not going to cut it. You need to explain, and you need to get 4 points. Okay, you need to say it must be X, you get 1 point for that part. Because Y, you get 1 point for that. Okay, so 2 advantages, 2 times 2 is 4. So loads of you, I would say everybody, lost very, very, very easy marks because you didn't follow that format. X because Y, X so that Y, etc. Okay, a few of you lost marks, you didn't read the question either. It could be manufactured from aluminium, but then they said 2 advantages why making the frame from mild steel rather than aluminium. Okay, a lot of people assumed Ali. So just be careful to read the question. So mild steel is stronger. If you just said it is strong, you get 0 marks, 0, 0, 0. Stronger than what? Mild steel is stronger than aluminium. That's what it's saying. Why would you use one, not the other? And stronger, I'm not happy with that. Stronger in compression would be a better way of saying that, not just strong. Okay, so mild steel is stronger in compression than aluminium, so it will be able to support more weight. I mean, how obvious is that? You all know why you wanted that to be strong, but most of you did not say why. Obviously, you assumed that we was not idiots, and that is very kind of you, but you must assume we are all idiots, so that it will be able to support more weight. Got you that sneaky extra mark. Next, mild steel is cheaper than aluminium. Anyone just said cheap? 0 marks. Cheaper than what? Didn't mean anything. Cheaper than aluminium, you get 1 mark. So it will be cheaper to buy, obviously, and the manufacturer will sell more. Both of those are fine. You could say cheaper than aluminium, so the manufacturer has more profit or makes more profit. Any of those were points to be had. You all know that, very obvious, but don't forget to check how many marks. Don't forget to look for that word explain or describe, so you know to answer like this. Again, describe 2 effects on the environment of being able to recycle mild steel. Now, we haven't done environmental issues yet, so this was a kind of pre-test. Again, describe, they're looking for X because Y. A few of you said about cheapness. The environment does not care whether it's cheap or not. We need to focus, read the question, and make sure we answer that question by talking about the environment. So let me give you an example of what you could have said. If we can recycle mild steel, obviously there will be less need to mine iron ore, to mine the steel in the first place, or the components of it. So you get 1 mark for saying that. You need 2 though. So what's the advantage of that to the environment? Well, if we're not mining so much iron ore, less land is needed. I mean, these iron ore mines can be vast. They can be many, many miles long. Sometimes you've got to destroy loads of forest just building the road to get to the thing. So therefore, less land is converted from forest. It used to be forest, now it's converted to an iron ore. That's the way I've said it. Or maybe it was farmland. That land could be used to feed our ever-growing population, 8 billion people and counting. Maybe people could live on that land, and now they can't because we've got an iron mine there. Less animal habitats are destroyed, etc., etc. That's your extra mark. So the rate at which we use natural resources is more sustainable. That would be a good one, i.e. we're not going to run out of iron ore, so future generations will have some left for future generations. That'd be nice. That word sustainable, we'll get that in there. So less pollution in local rivers, contamination to ecosystem, etc. When you have an iron mine, it uses vast amounts of sort of chemicals and water to blast out the iron and the processing, etc., etc. It's a messy old industry that often, particularly in less developed countries, leads to the pollution of local rivers, etc., etc. So that would be a good justification for your 1 mark as well. You may say, less iron products are thrown away. Well, why is that good? Why does the environment care about that? Well, let's be obvious. So less waste enters when it's thrown away. Where does it eventually go? It eventually goes to landfill sites. Please remember that term, landfill sites. Great big holes in the earth where we just chuck all of the pollution, all the rubbish that we make as the human species ends up in a bally great hole. And that land again could otherwise be used for farming, housing, etc. Again, that waste can contaminate local rivers, that sort of stuff. Do not say it is cheaper. Okay, I'm going to make that big. Not cheaper. Recycling things normally means that product is getting more expensive. Okay, recycled things are not cheaper. It takes a lot of energy and time and effort to collect all the plastics and recycle them. It takes a lot of time and effort to get all the metals and recycle them. It ends up being much more expensive. Anyway, who cares? The environment does not care if it's cheap or not. So that never answers the question anyway. And that's the same point I've made.